What would you do if your neighbor spent 6 months and $25,000 building a massive deck directly on your land? Most people would have stopped it on day one. They would have marched right outside. They would have waved their arms and caused a massive scene. But not me. I watched every single nail go in. I let him finish the landscaping completely. I let him hang the string lights. I even complimented the railings. And then the moment his contractor packed up the last truck and pulled out of the driveway, I walked over with a smile, a cold drink, and a certified property survey that proved every single square foot of that brand new deck. Every square foot of that beautiful, brand new $40,000 deck was sitting entirely on my land. Stay right there, because what happened next changed everything completely. Subscribe to Ho Drama Neighbor and hit that bell. New neighbor drama drops every week. It started on a Tuesday morning in early spring. I remember it vividly because I was drinking my first cup of coffee when I heard the rumble of a flatbed truck rolling down our street. I didn't think much of it at first. Neighbors renovate. People build things. Life goes on. But when the truck parked directly in front of the property line between my home and my neighbor Derek's house, things got weird. The workers started unloading lumber, concrete bags, and steel post anchors right there. I sat down my mug and walked straight to the window. Derek had lived next door for about 4 years now. We weren't close friends, but we were always civil. We waved, we made small talk about the local weather. We borrowed the occasional tool. He was the kind of neighbor you tolerate rather than celebrate loudly on weekends, a little territorial. He was always a bit too territorial about his driveway, and perpetually convinced his yard was bigger than it actually was. That last part, as it turned out, was the root of every single thing that happened next. Over the next few days, workers began digging post holes, deep ones, right along what Derek clearly believed was his property line. From where I stood, something fell off. The posts looked like they were going in deep. They looked like they were going in at least 8 to 10 feet past where I mentally placed our boundary. But I didn't say a word. Not yet. I had a very good reason for that, and I will get to it in just a moment. Here's something most people don't know. Property disputes are one of the most common and most expensive legal battles in American residential neighborhoods. Thousands of homeowners every single year discover issues. They discover that fences, sheds, driveways, and yes, decks have been built on land that doesn't belong to the builder at all. And in most cases, the person who built it had absolutely no malicious intent whatsoever. They just assumed, they eyeballed it. They trusted an old fence line blindly. They went off a neighbor's word from 20 years ago. Derek, I am fairly confident, did exactly that when he started this massive project. After seeing those post holes go in, I went inside and pulled out every single document I had on my property. The deed, title insurance paperwork, and then I called a licensed land surveyor to check the lines. Within 2 weeks, I had a certified, legally recorded survey with bright orange stakes driven into the ground at every corner of my actual property. The numbers were clear. They were absolutely undeniable. The area where Derek was building his deck, the entire footprint of it sat between 8 and 12 feet inside my recorded property boundary. Not on the line, not straddling it. It was fully, completely on my private land. And here is the precise decision that defined everything. I put that survey in a secure folder. I sat it right on my kitchen table, and I waited. Weeks passed by. The heavy framing went up incredibly fast. Derek hired a professional crew, not weekend warriors, but real contractors with a massive trailer full of tools and a great system. The deck was going to be massive. It was a beautiful 2-level structure. It featured a pergola, built-in seating, recessed lighting in the decking boards, and what looked like a built-in grill station on the upper tier. I am not going to lie. It was a genuinely beautiful building. Clean lines, quality wood. The crew clearly knew exactly what they were doing. People in my life, my wife, my brother, and a few close friends I told, could not believe I was letting it happen without saying a word. "Say something now," my brother said on the phone one evening. "The longer you wait, the messier this gets." And he wasn't wrong about the mess part at all. But I had a specific reason for waiting, and it wasn't cruelty. It wasn't revenge. It was a strategy. See, once a structure is partially built, it is easy to argue that it can still be moved. The concrete isn't poured yet. The posts aren't fully set into the ground, but a finished, completed, permitted structure. That is a completely different conversation. That is a tough conversation that involves numbers, real numbers. Because I wasn't planning to tear the deck down. I had a far more interesting plan in mind. By the time the string lights went up and Derek's family started hosting weekend barbecues on the new deck on my land, the structure was complete, permitted, inspected, valued by the contractor's invoice at just over $42,000. That's exactly when I made my move. On a Sunday afternoon, about 3 weeks after the deck was finished, I walked over to Derek's house while he was outside. He was using a garden hose, watering plants along the side of the deck. His deck, on my land. I brought 2 things with me. A cold bottle of water because I wanted to keep the temperature of the conversation down, and the survey folded neatly in a manila envelope. "Hey Derek," I said, "got a minute? I want to show you something." He looked up, relaxed, smiled, and said, "Sure." I handed him the envelope right away. He opened it slowly, looked at the survey drawing, looked at the orange stakes, now visible from where we were standing, and his face went through about 6 different emotions in the span of 10 seconds: confusion, recognition, disbelief, and then a long, heavy silence fell over the yard. "This is," he started. "This can't be right." I told him it was a certified survey, officially recorded with the county. I told him I wasn't angry. I told him I didn't think he did it on purpose at all. And then I told him what I actually wanted from him. Not to demolish the deck, and not to file an expensive lawsuit, but I wanted to be compensated fairly for the use of my land, either through a formal easement purchase or a land agreement that reflected the actual value of the encroachment. I had already spoken to a lawyer. I knew my options perfectly. I had done the work. Derek stood there holding that survey for a long time. The string lights swayed gently above us. The built-in grill gleamed beautifully in the afternoon sun. And every single dollar of that $42,000 deck sat legally on my property. I won't walk you through every legal detail. That's a longer video. But here's the summary. Derek initially pushed back against it. He called his own surveyor, hoping for a different result. He didn't get one. His attorney reviewed the documents and had a very direct conversation with him about the cost of litigation versus resolution. Within 60 days, we reached a formal, written agreement. Derek purchased a permanent easement on that strip of my land. The price reflected fair market value for the square footage, plus a negotiated figure. It included a figure for the structure's presence. It wasn't a massive windfall, but it was fair. And it was documented, recorded, and legally binding. Derek and I are not close friends now, but it's okay. We are not enemies either. We are neighbors. The kind who nod, wave, and quietly respect a boundary that is now marked in concrete, on paper, and in the county recorder's office forever. The deck still stands. It looks great, honestly. And every time I glance out my kitchen window and see those string lights glowing on a Saturday night, I think about patience. I think about doing things the right way every time. I think about the power of simply knowing your rights and knowing exactly when to use them. If this story hit different, if you've got a neighbor situation of your own, you are definitely in the right place. Ho Drama Neighbor is where everyday boundary battles, HOA showdowns, and backyard legal dramas live. Real stories, real outcomes, real satisfaction. Smash that like button if you would have done the same. Drop a note in the comments below, telling me how long you would have waited before saying something. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new episode of Ho Drama Neighbor. Watch our next video now. Subscribe to Ho Drama Neighbor for more.